The race was boring. No surprise. I mean, it got a little bit exciting with Verstappen slowing down Norris. Looked like if there was any space, Piastri might have been able to pass Norris. But Norris did a good job of not going too fast behind Verstappen and slowing down to give himself space to speed up on the straights when Leclerc would try to pass him at the corners. But either way, passing is almost impossible. The two stop didn't really help the race. But to me, I'm going to
Yeah,
focus
good
more
work.
on the track specs and Norris. I think the qualifying was important. So Norris got qualifying. What's surprising is not so surprising because Monaco, even though it's a technical track that Verstappen likes, Monaco is a very slow track. Even the high speed corners are slow. So Red Bull, once again, just like tracks like Miami or Bahrain, Red Bull doesn't do that great on it. So it's not surprising that Verstappen came third or came fourth. But what is surprising is that Piastri qualified fourth. That was really bad, and that's what cost him the race. And Piastri is beginning to bottle it the last couple of races since he's been the favorite. What do you think, Afolabi?
Yeah, I agree with you. Perhaps the fanfare and the early season, adulation, he can manage that quite well. And I was
Yeah.
surprised his performance here. There was a drop in performance, certainly. I think Norris kind of showed up this weekend. But then again, the Monaco Grand Prix is so predictable. I think it was the
Yeah.
four guys, the same starting grid positions for the qualifying were the guys who won who finished the race as well. So, and then adding a two-stop strategy was more of chaos than excitement. I didn't see the reason for that. And like you rightly said, if they want Monaco to be a lot more interesting, I think they have to do something to the geometry of the track, not by adding two stops. It's still basically very, very slow and difficult to overtake. And what is the excitement in a race when you can't pass, you can't jump, you can't overtake? So, in my own opinion, it adds to the interest of the Formula One calendar, but it's not a race I generally look forward to because it's low on excitement for me. It's a procession, really.
Yeah, well, to be honest with you, I always say let's keep Monaco because of the history, but people have to realize that Monaco, the race is on Saturday.
Yeah,
So
basically.
it's the most exciting qualifying to me in F1. And we saw Norris qualify well. This is not the first time Norris has qualified well. He qualifies very well on tracks that have tight and slow corners. He qualified well in Miami. No, not Miami. In was it Bahrain? Bahrain. He qualified well in yeah, in Miami. Did he have pole position in Miami?
I'm not quite sure.
No. Miami was Verstappen, but Verstappen. I mean, Norris qualified Australia
I think it
from
was
from
Australia, the one he
yeah,
won.
and even though he didn't qualify first, he tends to do better on slow speed tracks than Piastri. And then we saw in where was it? Piastri out qualified him in the last race, Imola. So it seems like Piastri does better at the high speed tracks, which lend themselves to that V type of driving. And also those high speed tracks, you actually have to push it to the limit. And even though we know that Norris has more overall lap pace than Piastri, I think he tends to have problems with handling that car when it's on those high speed tracks, which require more fronty type driving. And I think that's the big difference. But he's very comfortable on slow tracks that have spacious corners. It fits his driving style. So I think that's one of the big issues. But also Piastri just tends to not be doing well lately. He brushed the wall several times this weekend, so he wasn't feeling comfortable on that track. What are your thoughts, Lorato?
Yeah. I think, like you rightly said, the race happened on Saturday afternoon during qualifying, and it was an amazing qualifying session to sort of check out. I mean, how close those first 4 to 5 cars were, as they both hit the line one after the other in those final runs. And I think they were all like a tenth or 100th of a second within each other, which kind of shows the level of sort of like skill that we have in terms of the 2025 grid, which is great for
Yeah,
racing. Unfortunately, that doesn't qualify onto the track.
great. Yeah.
Um,
Very quickly before we go forward, though, it wasn't that close to me. This year, in qualifying, it's been
Yeah.
like 200ths of a second that separate people. Norris beat Leclerc by over a tenth, by 0.12, and beat who came third? Was it Piastri? No,
Yeah,
who came third?
yeah,
Third was
was
Piastri, yeah.
Piastri.
He beat Piastri by
That's the
0.13.
thing.
So my point being is that actually that's the highest gap we've had in weeks, because in
Yeah.
weeks it's been 300ths of a second. So I'm not saying that it's a big gap, but nowadays, this year, a tenth of a second for one lap now is a big gap. You on the high speed tracks, like when I'm Verstappen would beat Piastri by 0.02, or Piastri beat him by 0.02. So this was actually a slightly bigger gap, but it wasn't like, yeah, you're right. Still, everybody was still within 2/10 of a second each other for the first four.
Within a tenth or two.
Yeah, but
So
this guy,
yeah,
to me, a 0.1 second win is comfortable now. Norris got it pretty comfortably. Although Leclerc was going hard, Leclerc was actually the best driver this weekend, as far as I'm concerned. Leclerc pushed that Ferrari way
no.
beyond the limit. Yeah.
Leclerc really looks comfortable in Monaco. I
Yeah, that's his
suppose it
hometown.
being his home race and all those things
Yeah.
sort of gives him that advantage. Having won
He won there
a
last
race
year.
in the last year as well, I think
Yeah.
also gave him a boost that he knew he would be able to do it.
Yeah.
It just sort of got away from him in qualifying by those
You
by
mean
those.
Leclerc? Actually, Leclerc had a perfect lap. It's just that he doesn't have that. Oh yeah, he just doesn't have that advantage that
that McLaren has.
Yeah, and once again, just to
Um,
show you, it's not that McLaren is blowing people out, but they're still number one on slow tracks because of their traction and their downforce.
because of the car setup
Yeah,
and everything. Yeah.
so it's no
So
big deal.
yeah, that'll always give them an edge. But I'm sure also then, when we look at results, we were just saying earlier that I guess Ferrari will be a little bit more pleased with the results that they got. It's just like, I think that this two-stop thing was also just unfortunate because someone like Max couldn't take advantage of a one-stop strategy and actually take the race, which would have been fascinating. Actually, would have given us that drama that they were looking to have, with like, whether someone chooses to do a one or a two stop.
Yeah, but I think Norris would have still won because he would have had a different strategy. He wouldn't have stopped early.
Because he would have gone for a one stop as well, kind of
Yeah.
a thing. Yeah. So, but I'm just saying those kind of like games could not be played because it was
Yeah, they
mandatory
need to leave
for.
it at one stop or whatever.
Yeah, mandatory
Oh
for people to
no,
do
I
two
actually,
stops.
well, anyway,
What do you think? What
maybe
do you think, Mr. Johnny? Mr. John, you can jump in now. Okay.
yeah, this two-stop strategy actually made it very exciting. I mean, that was the first time I actually enjoyed them in Monaco. Maybe
Yeah.
the second time. I mean, I've only enjoyed Monaco like 3-4 times, and this is like one of
If you
them.
enjoy Monaco,
And
you have to watch when the Senna driving 300 kilometers per hour, 260 kilometers.
during Schumacher's time, Monaco was actually quite interesting and to watch. Schumacher, Hakkinen,
You need to modify the track.
So, but this two-stop strategy, this two-stop strategy forced everybody to to mix up their strategy, and so on. So it's for the spectators, it was interesting, the two-stop strategy. But I'm sure for like racing and anything like this, it wasn't nice, So, but we want to be entertained. That's
Yeah. See, here's the thing. When I first looked at the track, I thought that when I first looked at the track, I thought that Verstappen would have a shot because it's a technical track. But even though it's technical, that track is too slow. And what I mean, when a track that's slow like that, Red Bull is not built for it. They don't have the traction. They're not built for it. So it's like there's nothing that Verstappen could do. And he was doing well on sectors 2 and 3. Him and Leclerc, who are the best high-speed drivers. But that track is just too slow. So it's no surprise that him coming fourth is not bad. But like I said, Piastri qualifying in third was interesting. That was a letdown for Piastri, and it goes back to what I said. Both of those drivers are not maximizing that car. To be honest with you, they're not maximizing it because they should be coming 1-2 on that type of track. And I still think that Red Bull is closing the gap on them. We're going to see for sure next week because next week's track. Remember what we said at Falabi?
Yeah.
That Spain track is super high speed.
Yeah, sure.
And,
Barcelona.
and you
up
have to
there.
have straight line speed. You have to have
Barcelona.
straight line speed. It doesn't have. It's not technical.
It's not.
It has high speed corners and it has a very long straight. So we'll see what happens. I think this Spain is going to be the determinant. If what you call it can win, if McLaren can win at Spain, then that's a good sign for them because it means their car is really adaptable. It
Yeah.
can do well on that track. But if Verstappen wins on that, we're going to see the pattern of just look at the slow speed tracks. How many more slow speed tracks are left this year, and how many more high speed tracks are left?
Yeah.
And which one is more? If there's more slow speed, then McLaren is going to win. If there's more high speed, let's look at Ferrari. Though Ferrari,
Yeah,
they
Ferrari.
did well on this track, but I don't really think they've made gains. They did well on this track because it's a very slow track, sort of like
Yeah,
China.
yeah.
I think that's just hiding the fact that Ferrari has no pace. What do you? You want to say something, Lorato? Then we'll go to Mr. Johnny. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think they did do well because of the character of the track.
Yeah.
More than what the car. I mean, like I said, in terms of qualifying, we could see that the cars were pretty close. I think if it was a higher speed track, where they needed more sort of like traction, more braking, and things like because they had issues with braking in the last race and things like that. So if they had those kinds of challenges on a higher speed track, I think we would have seen less confidence in terms of how they handled themselves on the track. So they were a lot more confident on the track.
Yeah.
Also, I mean, given the experience of both Lewis and Leclerc on the track, you expected them to do pretty well.
Yeah. I'm surprised at Piastri though. Why he was having problems, man. That's weird. What do you think?
I think he was claustrophobic. Sorry.
yeah, he got too tight and then maybe. What are your thoughts, Mr. John? Because I'm surprised at him. He kept on having problems with those walls. I've seen him make passes last year where he passed Norris one time and almost hit a wall, and he seemed like he was calm. I don't know what's going on with this guy, man. Maybe he doesn't have a lot of experience on Monaco. What do you think, Mr. Johnny?
I think Piastri, I could just tell he wasn't comfortable with.
In fact, that's the name of our next post for shorts. Claustrophobic. That's gonna be the next post after this. Go ahead.
Because he had been kissing the walls all weekend. Even during practice, he had been giving the walls, pecks left and right. So he felt really closing. I think Norris was more. What is it?
His rhythm was off. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think all that closeness, gave him. But Norris was more, he could express himself a little bit better than Piastri. So, but I think, like we said, next week, the next race, that's where we're going to see some real between Norris and Piastri. They're really going to fight it out.
The Piastri can win, and they can keep on taking points from each other. Anyway, so.
And the wing and the flexi wing rules kick in during Spain, right?
Yeah, front wing. Front wing. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I heard them because they use that thing to modulate on high speed tracks.
Yeah.
It goes. They use it to be able to handle the high speed corners. Then when it gets to the slow speed, they're not going to have that advantage anymore, and they may start having front graining. So these guys have a lot of challenges. To be honest, this Monaco didn't tell us anything. We didn't learn anything. But one thing I learned is that Norris is more comfortable on slow speed tracks because you can let the car do more of the work there. Whereas with high speed, you have to push it past the limit. And we know that. I think it's psychological. It's not driving skill. Norris is not doing well on technical high speed tracks. It's like he thinks too much about it. And he says he's back now because he cut off his internet for a week. My view is that in life, nothing changes over 1 week. Of course, he's going to win. Even if he's having a bad year, he's still going to win 1 or 2 more races this year. So my thing is that it doesn't mean that because he won today that he's back, but it's a good momentum shift for him. But we already saw the momentum shift last week because he outpaced Piastri last week also. I think, he finished higher than Piastri, right? Last week, yeah.
Yeah.
So,
yes.
So he's been doing well, and that's what he needs to focus on before he focuses on Verstappen, is beating his teammate. What are your thoughts, Afolabi?
I think I quite agree with you. It's not anything to celebrate for Norris. I think he should just focus on being consistent and take it up from there. This Monaco track did not really show us much. And to Piastri, I think apart from Max Verstappen, who is the GOAT for me, every Formula One track, every Formula One driver has his own kryptonite track. I think this Monaco track is not what Piastri fancies at all.
I think he did pretty decent last year. Did he come second in qualifying? I'm not sure.
Last
I'll
year.
check. Go ahead.
So
Go ahead. I'll check.
because throughout this weekend, I mean, it was reading with errors, which is very unlike him. So I feel he needs to get himself back very quickly. But the dynamics of them canceling each other out and taking points from each other might just serve into Max Verstappen's hand, especially when you get to the Barcelonas and the Monzas that suit the RB21 car more than a slow track with a lot of tight corners like Monaco.
Imagine Kool-Aid asking me how we expecting the show, and I've been telling him all day show, and he never responded.
So I believe by the time they get to the Barcelona and the Monza, and by the time they remove the front wing thing, Red Bull might have an opportunity to close the gap.
This is a long season
on McLaren.
It's a long season.
And then
it's
maybe
a long season.
Silverstone as well.
Yeah, and let's go back to Piastri. Piastri, ever since, and this is why I hate British and Cameron. When Piastri started winning, they said, God tier driver, wise beyond his years. He showed Max because he outdid Max at the corner. And was it Miami? And Max, no, it was Bahrain. Max had to give him back the position. He showed Max the genius of years. I think these guys read this thing and all of a sudden they stop becoming hungry. You have to always be vigilant. You get my point? Because it seems like the past couple of weeks, Piastri has been making mistakes, just like he let this guy sleep on him last week. He let Verstappen pass him by 30 kilometers per hour. And he was pushing, he was releasing his throttle and almost because he was worried about Russell, and Russell almost hit him in the back. So I'm not dissing this guy, but what I'm trying to say is that we don't want to start mythologizing these guys like, oh, wisdom beyond years. He's still a young guy, and there's a lot of racing scenarios. Yeah. He's still a young guy. So
yeah,
do we I do think it sound like he was Yoda, a Jedi who knows everything already.
Yeah, I think you made the point the last time about how he took time to develop into his stride. Unlike the epic drivers who are like first timers and doing amazing things. I mean, you mentioned,
he doesn't have that. He's not a natural like Alonso or
like Alonso, Hamilton, and Verstappen.
Natural, that's the word.
Yeah, who were doing amazing things in their first season. He had
even
to
Norris is a natural. The problem with Norris is that he gets too much in his head. You know.
Yeah. So he had to acclimatize to him being comfortable in the car that he's in now. Which I think is why he even elected to stay at McLaren for a longer period, because it would be another thing for him to adapt to another team and another car.
Yeah, but we don't hate him because we have to remember this guy is 24, man. But
yeah.
No, there's no guarantee he'll win a championship because next year the rules are rebooting and you may have Antonelli and these guys jumping up. So we'll have to wait and see. Go ahead. I'm sorry, Lorenzo.
Yeah, but I think the approach of like a slow burn is also something to watch out for in terms of a driver's development and him gaining experience and him becoming better and better. I mean, I think like you rightly said, he was actually much better in last year's Monaco. He was all over Leclerc's back last year. So of course this year probably he's struggling with some confidence issues, given that he's now leading the championship.
Yeah, he started taking it too seriously.
Yeah, and that for a driver who is inexperienced could be a lot of weight on his shoulders that he has to sort of come to grips. He has to come to grips with, in the same way that we saw McLaren have to come as a team, have to come to grips with the fact that they had the fastest car last year.
Yeah, and that's why I give Max credit. I've never actually heard Max say, yes, I've improved. I'm better. I beat this person. He never talks about himself as a driver. Like, it's like, I've learned, and now I've learned what Max does. Max never talks about what he did in relation to another driver. The only time he talks is when he doesn't like you. This person cheated me. But I've never actually heard him say, I am the best or anything like that, or this year is my year like North. So all these guys need to do is just, and the same thing if Alonso does this, just focus on your race. Don't get hyped. Don't get into this media bullshit, man. Because these guys will get you, will or don't even say, oh, I have to beat this person. I don't even think Max thinks like that. Max just thinks like, oh, who's making a mistake now so I can tell the race director. Max is watching what's going on the track, but he's not pointing one person as his. The only person that I think Max sees as a true opponent is Leclerc. What do you think, Lorato? It's like those
Yeah,
two have
yeah,
potential with each other. And also Leclerc too. Leclerc doesn't compare himself to other drivers when he's driving. Go ahead, yeah.
yeah. There are all those dynamics in terms of how drivers approach the race, but there was sort of like a moment, I think, in the first lap there where Max and Piastri were going wheel to wheel.
Oh yeah, but Max backed off because he knew that it was going to lead to big problems.
And Max backed off, and that is just kind of like, and of course that would have been sort of like a smart thing to do, given the nature of the track and the nature of the race, to try and wait for another
And also Max
opportunity.
is smart because he knew that Norris would not. If it's Norris, he would have pushed it. Because so what he's doing is not compare himself to driver, but he knows each driver and he knows.
He knows who he's driving.
Yeah.
He understands who he's driving, and he understands how to drive each driver at his own sort of like game.
Yeah. Very quickly though, this guy almost Piastri. I mean, Norris is lucky because if this had been a wider track, he wouldn't have won this race. He made a mistake several times. He locked out at the start of the race.
Yes,
even at the beginning,
he locked
out. So that's why I'm saying people shouldn't just say that Norris has mastered his demons.
Yeah.
He hasn't.
Leclerc almost got ahead of him.
It's not that he mastered his demons. It was that he did the same bullshit at the start, but because it was so narrow, he got away with it. Because and I was thinking Leclerc would have passed him if that had been a wider track. Mr. Johnny, what do you think? Then we'll go to Kool-Aid. Hey, Kool-Aid, now you didn't answer all my texts all day. Were you showing up? That's why I didn't send you a link. What topic now?
Oh no, I was cooking. I was making barbecue for the family, so I was in charge of the barbecue round.
Yeah, barbecue.
I was in charge of barbecue.
You the barbecue,
and they do the barbecue, all the hard work.
So, Mr. Johnny, what was your point? You were talking about
Kool-Aid's barbecue has made me forget what I wanted to say. Maybe if you just go.
I was doing a lot of heavy lifting. But I still got to watch the race. Maybe I'll step in and hijack his.
Oh yeah, you're coming in a second. So, Mr. Johnny, what were your thoughts before we go to Kool-Aid?
Yeah. It was about Leclerc. I mean, wait. What's about Leclerc's?
Norris locked out.
For sure, man. The width of the track really helped out Norris. If not, Leclerc was really on for that.
Can you imagine if Leclerc had passed him and won? I think Norris' season would be over psychologically.
Oh man, and Leclerc would have had a hard on the whole season, actually. But
Leclerc's good, man. He's the driver of the weekend.
Yeah, it was all right, but he was helped a little by Max. Max was Max
was slowing down on purpose.
Max was trying to force. He was actually trying to force an incident between Leclerc and Norris, maybe, and then he goes in. Maybe there's a safety car.
Perfect driving. Yeah, this is why we say Max has a high IQ. It wasn't because he doesn't like Norris, and also he realized that Norris is his opponent for points for championship. You get my point. So he has to keep.
You have to take him out.
Yeah. But Norris did a good job of pacing himself. He would let Leclerc catch him. Then when he get on the straight, he would leave. He did a good way. He measured out his race, which was good.
I don't know if we're going to mention something about George Russell, what he did. I don't know if we've talked about it.
Quickly, what did you do? Well,
as he was upset about how Sainz and Albon were
those guys, they bended the rules to their advantage.
Yes. Yeah. So Russell just went around the chicane and he said he doesn't care, man. You take the penalty because he was tired of driving behind Sainz.
I feel sorry for Russell because Mercedes has fucked him up. This guy was ready this year to challenge, but the car lately, and Mercedes, they're having retirements, 2 retirements in a week.
That's his hardcore. I've never seen Mercedes.
They had a retirement. Then they had one this week. I don't get it. I think Toto Wolff is taking the money and putting it into his bank account, not into preserving the engines or something. I don't know.
And look at even Alonso. Alonso has a Mercedes engine, and he also had.
Yeah, but the problem with Mercedes, they need to get on top of that. I don't know what's going on with these guys, but anyway. So let's go to Kool-Aid. Kool-Aid hasn't talked. Yeah, so Kool-Aid, what angle do you want to take for the race?
Yeah, for the race, as you said, Norris didn't get caught out of the first corner because of the narrowness of the track. Yeah. And as I had said before this race, Monaco is not an overtaking circuit. It's a circuit where if you have the fastest car and you have the fastest lap, you're most likely going to have a good race. Yeah. And once Norris got pole, the first driver to get around Monaco in under 70 seconds. I think they made a big deal out of that. But I mean, every year,
the cars get faster
every year. The next car is always the fastest every year. So, I mean, that's not really a big deal. But let's look at it from this point of view. McLaren had the fastest car. Ferrari had the second fastest car. And Red Bull, I have no criticism of Verstappen. Everything that cost Red Bull a better position all had to do with Red Bull and nothing to do with Verstappen.
Yeah, but here's the thing.
That nobody could have got that Red Bull.
The track is too slow for Red Bull. Red Bull's car is pointy and front. It's not made for very slow tracks. So the thing is that Red Bull, you'll see, we'll know the truth next week in Spain, because it's like trying to drive a Ferrari in mud. You understand what I'm trying to say? That Monaco track is meant for cars that have a lot of downforce and focus on the rear end. Red Bull focuses on the front like a rocket ship. So that's why I'm not too surprised. But go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah. Not only that, but even if it was a faster track, there are not many overtaking opportunities at Monaco to double up. So that just made it more a question of Verstappen just getting the points to stay in the hunt.
Yeah, he did his part. He drove a very good race. He did his part, yeah.
Yeah, that was all this is about. Mercedes were completely out of it from Q2.
I don't get those guys.
Just forget Mercedes. I don't know. They were just nonsense.
Albon came fifth. This is Albon's year, man. Albon is having a fun year, man. I love that guy.
Yeah, the Williamses and the Toro Rosso seem to be finding, and the Aston, if not for
Hamilton came fifth, right?
Yeah,
Hamilton came ninth.
The disaster that Alonso had.
Oh,
I think that they would have been far higher. I think that Aston Martin, Toro Rosso, Williams, and a little bit of Alpine. But I think some of those are pretenders to trying to get in amongst the pigeons with the McLarens and the Ferraris and the Red Bulls of this world. So that was quite interesting.
Oh, I messed it up. Okay, he came ninth. Yeah,
the Williams came in ninth and 10th.
They still got points. Okay, good.
Yes.
Yeah. So go on, Kunle. Sorry. Yeah.
Yeah, but they still got caught out in the race. But I mean, this competition told me that McLaren are the fastest car. It also told me that Ferrari is a pretty dominant car, and that and it also told me that Red Bull is overperforming. Is greater than some of its cars.
Kunle, I think you got it wrong. Red Bull, Verstappen. Yuki's been coming 10th. Verstappen has won 2 races this year and 3 qualifiers. But on slow tracks, Red Bull is far behind. If you look on high-speed tracks, Max, this guy's been finished. And also, this track favors Ferrari. Ferrari does not have pace. They're doing well on this. This Monaco is a slow track. And there's it's sort of like a paradox. If you're really good on high-speed tracks, you're not going to do well on slow tracks that have require a lot of downforce because of the tension between.
Well, Ferrari have a lot of straight line speed. I think their problem is grip and braking.
But they're not good on high speed tracks because they don't have, like you said. I think a lot of it has to do with their suspension and things like that. And in fact, Ferrari doesn't do well on any track that requires any type of pace on the corners. Do you see what I'm saying?
That's what I'm saying. They have straight line speed, but when they have to take a bend,
in F1, when they talk about pace. In F1, when they talk about speed, they're talking about on the corners because straight line doesn't matter in F1. It's the corners. The corners are relevant. And if you can't deal with slow speed or high speed corners, you can't win an F1 race. For example, Haas is faster than everybody on straight line. You see what I'm saying? Even I think last year Haas had the highest straight line speed. Also, Aston Martin has higher straight line speed, but nobody calls them the fastest. To be the fastest,
Aston Martin were quite good, just that they crashed out and had a bit of a disaster today. But they could have done quite well.
I think a better word to use is pace. Pace talks about the whole circuit. Ferrari's pace is not that good. Their race pace is okay, but their performance pace is not good over a lap. I don't know. What do you think of Folabi?
Yeah, I think I agree with you. Basically, it's their suspension problems have not been really tested on this track. Their suspension problems, which I still think will catch up with them. But because of the fact that you need a lot of downforce and grip on this circuit, and it's not really a fast track. Somehow, Leclerc was able to get the best out of that SF21. I think basically that's what happened. It's the character of the circuit, not anywhere. We didn't learn much about Ferrari, really.
No, we didn't. Next week will be the litmus test.
Yeah,
for every team. Every team. We'll see. What are your thoughts?
Ferrari, for Red Bull, for McLaren as well.
I'm predicting as usual, McLaren. I'm going to predict that even Verstappen will win or come second. He'll win or come second. He's either going to win or split those guys in.
I want to see how the practice goes before I make the call because it's all getting.
I'm calling it based on the track. But hold on. What are your thoughts on Fabio? I'm going to look at show you guys the picture of the Spain Grand Prix track. You'll see. Go ahead. Any thoughts on Fabio?
Yeah, basically, Spain. It's going to be McLaren or Red Bull, really.
Yeah.
Looking at the kind of, it's going to be similar to what we saw in Imola. Looking at the car, it's just that the Spanish track is not as bumpy and as it doesn't contain as many curves.
Okay, guys, look at this track, guys. Look at this track.
Yeah.
This is a super splash. Look at the straight line.
That's a fast track. There's not a lot of big corners.
That's why I said Red Bull can win. McLaren is 3 or 4 or 5 kilometers per hour slower than Red Bull on the straights. Yeah. And there's only one real slow speed track, the one on the red. Other than that, look, this track is built for speed.
Yeah, it's built for
pure speed. This track is also
Mercedes.
Ferrari
I don't think Mercedes will like this track.
Yeah, Mercedes will not like it. No, no. McLaren. If McLaren likes that track, Mercedes will like that track.
But I don't think McLaren will like that track. But McLaren is balanced, so they'll do okay. But my thing is that it doesn't play to McLaren's strengths at all.
Yes, that's true. That is true. And I think Ferrari is like in between. It's like half Ferrari track.
Yeah, but that's the thing. Ferrari's undefined. They're undefined.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see what happens.
But one thing is for sure, Leclerc will perform better than Hamilton.
Yeah. But the funny thing, the track doesn't also have a lot of it's not really a cornery type track, to be honest with you.
No.
The focus is on
very geometric, very symmetric.
Yeah. So yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see. That doesn't mean that, like we said, McLaren is fast on any track. But I'm thinking that it's gonna be close as usual, but I'm going to say Verstappen will come second or first. That's my. What do you think, Lorato? Quickly here.
Yeah. I think it's going to be interesting, that Spanish Grand Prix. But I just wanted to say for like the Monaco race, just last shots is seeing how well RB did in the midfield this week. Both guys finished in the points. Even Lawson finished in the points this week. I guess also sort of like due to Mercedes's failures this week. That sort of gave those guys a boost.
Yeah, good strategy.
Yeah. And seeing Ocon also there in the points means that also Haas has that capability.
Yeah, and Hadja, to me, he's the rookie of the year so far, man.
Yeah.
He did really well, especially in the early parts of the race. He was very good.
Sure.
All right, guys. So you can finish up, Lorato. Yeah, I mean your last point.
No, for sure. So looking forward to how that sort of plays out as well in the midfield when we get to Spain, in terms of how the rookies are going to adapt to that, and how they do. I think it'll be great if Mercedes can improve, so that we can see a little bit more of Kimi Antonelli, because he seemed like he was doing pretty well before they started having troubles at Imola.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. All right, so we've got to go because we only have a few minutes. Me and Falabi have a show to do on Malema. All right, let's get out of here, Falabi. Take us out. Yeah.
Okay, it's been another wonderful Formula One show, and from Mustafa, Lerato, Mr. Johnny, and Kule, we'll be back again.
Thank you, guys. Okay.
Bye.